Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Talk Central. I'm Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by Sarah, our audio expert.
Hey! Excited to dive into today's topic.
And from the looks of the sources you sent us, our listener is ready to take their movie and TV audio to the next level.
Yeah, some serious home theater upgrades on the mind, it seems.
Definitely. We're talking top-tier soundbars today, specifically for movies and TV.
Awesome. Always happy to talk about good sound.
So we got two heavy hitters in the ring, the Samsung HWQ910D and the Sony Bravia Theater Bar 8, which comes bundled with this wireless subwoofer, the SA-SW3.
Oh, two really interesting approaches to sound, both promising that cinematic experience right in your living room.
Right. Okay, so let's start with the Samsung HWQ910DD. This one boasts a 9.1.2 channel system.
Wow.
So that's a lot of speakers.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of having so many channels?
Well, it's all about creating a really immersive soundscape. You know, a traditional stereo system just gives you left and right channels. But with a 9.1.2 system like this, you've got a dedicated center channel for dialogue surround channels, for sounds coming from behind you, and even height channels for overhead effects like Dolby Atmos.
Oh, so it's like having a movie theater in your house.
Exactly. And the Samsung even has this cool feature called Active Voice Analyzer, which automatically adjusts dialogue volume based on the ambient noise in the room.
So no more struggling to hear the characters over explosions or background music.
Right. It makes sure the dialogue is always crisp and clear.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I can think of a few movies where that would have come in handy.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. And to boost that surround sound even further, the Samsung includes a wireless rear speaker kit right out of the box.
So you get that true 360-degree audio experience.
Exactly. They've really thought of everything with this one.
And I'm seeing it also has a dedicated game mode. What's the benefit of using that?
Oh, game mode is specifically designed to enhance those subtle audio cues that are crucial in gaming. Things like footsteps and environmental sounds become much clearer and more defined.
So it can give you a real advantage.
Absolutely. Especially in competitive games.
Okay, so it seems like the Samsung is packed with features. But is there anything our listeners should be wary of? You know, any potential downsides?
Well, some user reviews have mentioned some connectivity issues, particularly with the wireless rear speakers.
Oh, so like dropouts or syncing problem?
Yeah, unfortunately. And it can be pretty frustrating when you're trying to enjoy a movie.
Definitely. Anything else to watch out for?
There have also been some concerns about the build quality. Some users found the components a little bit flimsy, so it might not be the best choice for households with rambunctious kids or pets.
Good point. Durability is definitely something to consider.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the Sony Bravia Theater Bar 8 with its wireless subwoofer, the SA-SW3. What's Sony's take on creating that ultimate movie experience?
Well, Sony's approach is all about bringing their decades of filmmaking expertise to your living room. The Bravia Theater Bar 8 has 11 speakers, support for Dolby Atmos, and this really interesting technology called 360 spatial sound mapping.
360 spatial sound mapping. That sounds pretty high-tech. What exactly is it?
It's actually pretty cool. It uses digital processing to create virtual speakers all around you.
Virtual speakers, so it tricks your ears into thinking there are more speakers than there actually are.
Exactly. It creates a much wider and more immersive soundstage than you'd expect from just a soundbar and subwoofer.
So it's like a virtual surround sound system.
You could say that. It's a different way of achieving that immersive feel.
Very interesting. I'm curious to know what people think of it.
We'll definitely dive into the user reviews later. But first, let's not forget about the SA-SW3 subwoofer that comes with this Sony system.
Right, the subwoofer. Essential for those big booming movie moments.
Exactly. And this one is designed to deliver that deep, rich bass that really makes you feel the impact of explosions and action sequences.
I bet that adds a whole other dimension to the experience.
Oh, absolutely. And just like the Samsung, you have the option to add wireless rear speakers if you want to create an even more expansive soundstage.
Okay, so both soundbars offer that option.
They do. But it's important to remember that with the Sony, the rear speakers are sold separately, so that adds to the overall cost.
Right. It's good to keep that in mind. But let's face it, sometimes the real story comes from the people who are actually using these soundbars day in and day out.
Oh, definitely. User reviews can be super helpful in uncovering those little details that you won't find in any product description.
Exactly. So let's see what people are saying about the Samsung HWQ910 AD.
Well, one thing that really stands out is just how powerful it is. Like, people are blown away by the sheer volume and dynamism of the sound, especially with those rear speakers in the mix.
Yeah, I bet it makes those action movies really come to life.
Oh, totally. People are talking about explosions that make you jump out of your seat and concert scenes that feel like you're right there in the crowd.
That sounds pretty awesome. But what about dialogue clarity? Sometimes with sound bars that pack a lot of bass, the dialogue can get a bit lost.
You know, that's a great point, and it seems like the Samsung's active voice analyzer is really effective at keeping the dialogue crisp and clear, even during loud action sequences.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, lots of positive comments about that. One person even said it was a game changer for them because they used to constantly have to rewind to catch what was being said.
That's a big deal,
Yeah.
especially if you're watching a movie with a lot of dialogue-heavy scenes.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that people really appreciate is the ease of setup.
Oh, that's always a plus.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to spend hours fiddling with cables and settings.
Right. Several reviewers mentioned how straightforward it was to get everything up and running, even if you're not super tech savvy.
That's great news for those of us who are a little bit challenged in the tech department. But, okay, let's talk about the not-so-good stuff. We know there were some concerns about connectivity issues with the rear speakers.
Yeah, those do come up in the reviews. Some people reported experiencing occasional dropouts or syncing problems, which can be really annoying when you're trying to get immersed in a movie.
Yeah, it's like the audio equivalent of buffering.
Exactly. It totally takes you out of the moment.
Did any of the reviewers offer any solutions for those issues?
Some people found that adjusting the placement of the rear speakers helped to improve the connection.
So make sure there's a clear line of sight and no obstructions.
Exactly. And also make sure your firmware is up to date. Samsung releases updates regularly, so that could solve some of the bugs.
Good advice. What about the build quality? We mentioned some concerns about that earlier.
Yeah, there are a few comments about the rear speakers feeling a bit flimsy. One reviewer even suggested being careful not to place them in areas where they might get knocked over easily, especially if you have pets or kids running around.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something to keep in mind. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the Sony Bravia Theater Bar 8 with its subwoofer. What are people saying about this one?
Well, that 360 spatial sound mapping technology is definitely a big talking point. Lots of reviewers were super impressed with how immersive it makes the sound, even without dedicated rear speakers.
So it really does create that sense of being surrounded by sound.
Yeah, people are describing it as a really wide and enveloping sound stage that makes you feel like you're right in the middle of the action.
I'm curious to know what kind of content this technology really shines with.
Well, it seems like sci-fi and action movies are where it really shines.
Oh, those make sense. With all the special effects and big sweeping scores.
Exactly. One reviewer specifically mentioned watching a space battle scene and feeling like they were right there in the cockpit with lasers flying all around them.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty incredible.
And of course, we can't forget about the subwoofer. The SA-SW3 gets rave reviews for its deep, punchy bass.
Essential for those action-packed moments.
Oh, absolutely. People are talking about explosions that actually make you feel the rumble and music that has this rich, full-bodied sound.
Sounds like it lives up to the hype. But what about those potential downsides? Did any of those concerns show up in the reviews?
You know, it's interesting. The complaints about the setup process weren't as common as I expected. It seems like Sony might have improved it recently, or maybe the people who are drawn to this kind of high-end audio system are just a bit more comfortable with technology.
Right. They're probably used to dealing with more complex setups.
Probably. But there were still some comments about the control app being a bit limited in terms of customization options.
So if you're a real audiophile who likes to tweak every setting, this might not be the best choice.
Yeah, maybe not. But for the average user, it seems to be just fine.
Okay, so we've gotten a good sense of what people are saying about both the Samsung and the Sony. Has anything surprised you about the user feedback?
I think I was most surprised by how positive people were about the Samsung's active voice analyzer. I mean, it really seems to make a difference in terms of dialogue clarity.
Yeah, that's a big deal for a lot of people. And it's good to know that the Sony setup might not be as daunting as some people feared.
Definitely. But we've only scratched the surface of what makes these soundbars special.
Exactly. We still need to talk about the all-important question of value for money. Which soundbar offers the best bang for your buck?
That's the million-dollar question, and we'll tackle it head-on in part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, so we've explored all the features and heard what actual users have to say about these two soundbars.
But now comes the tough part.
Right, making the final decision. And value for money is a huge factor for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about getting the most expensive model. It's about finding the one that best suits your needs and your budget.
Exactly. So let's break it down. The Samsung HWQ9 0D, tons of features, powerful sound, and you get those wireless rear speakers right out of the box.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive package.
But we have to consider those connectivity issues.
Right, those are definitely a concern. Although, like we said, some users have found ways to mitigate them.
And the Samsung does tend to go on sale pretty often.
Yeah, so if you can catch it at a good price, it could be a real steal.
Okay, what about the Sony Bravia Theater Bar 8 with the subwoofer? How does it stack up in terms of value?
Well, the Sony is definitely more expensive, especially if you want to add those optional rear speakers.
So you're paying a premium for that Sony quality and that immersive
Yeah.
360 spatial sound mapping technology.
Yeah, you are. But you also get a really well-built system that's designed to deliver that true cinematic audio experience.
So it really comes down to what you prioritize.
Right. If you're looking for the most powerful and feature-packed soundbar, and you're willing to take a chance on those connectivity issues, the Samsung could be a great option, especially if you find it on sale.
But if you're all about that truly immersive cinematic audio experience and you're willing to spend a little more time, the Sony might be the way to go.
I think that sums it up pretty well.
So there you have it, folks. We've given you all the information we could gather on these two impressive soundbars. Now it's up to you to decide which one will be the perfect addition to your home theater setup.
And remember, technology is always changing. There will always be new models coming out, but don't get caught up in the hype.
Yeah, choose the soundbar that fits your needs and your budget and enjoy it.
Well said. And if you want to see the latest prices and deals, be sure to check out the links in the description below.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Tech Talk Central for more in-depth discussions on all things tech. We're here to help you navigate the ever-changing world of gadgets and gizmos.
Thanks for listening.